Good morning and welcome to Cover 2 Cook. We're on episode 107. Today we're going to be talking about the NFL as we got finally some news about this Aaron Rodgers saga. We have college football as Big Ten is saying, you know what? We don't mind some things while the SEC's crybabies. And then we got to talk about the NBA as the NBA finals start tonight. So when you're listening to this, Game 1 has already been played, and NHL's Game 1 happened last night. We got to talk about that, so let's get it started.
Yeah, I was going to do a vertical jump there. Thank you, Socks.
Travel been to Indiana, and did Cover 2 Cook get you a good hotel?
Indiana? No, I'm in Louisiana. I'm getting Mardi Gras.
I know that this might be hard, but I don't know how much you remember Friday night since we left you damn near when you fell asleep.
I got my belly full, man. I was like, I warm covers and warm. I was like, I could go to sleep right now.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with Jack Dorsey.
Final answer?
Yes. All right.
This is going to be a long fucking day.
All right. Thank you so much for joining Cover 2 Cooks episode 107. We got some NFL news, and NFL is king, so we're going to start with that one right off the bat. Finally, Aaron Rodgers will reportedly sign with the Steelers a one-year contract. What'd you think about hearing about this?
It's about time. I think Pittsburgh had to do something.
Yep.
They couldn't go into the season with Mason Rudolph. There's no way. But here's the deal, Anthony. Who's he throwing the ball to? DK Metcalf? That's it. That is it. They don't have anybody else. It's going to be a long season. I think they're going to probably pound the ball, and that's what they're going to do. And Rodgers is just going to – but he's got nobody to throw to unless he's – I don't know. I think there's something they had to because of what division they're in. They had to have somebody. But, I mean, who's he throwing the ball to? That's the biggest deal.
They have an Austin, like a smaller guy. He kind of came out last year. There's also talks about Jonnu Smith still going there. I think I don't know. I mean, when you look at where he was at in the Jets, you were like, he had all these options and they still couldn't throw the ball. So I mean, at the same time, and who knows? Maybe he goes and gets people, Jordy Nelson out of retirement to come play for them too. Like, I just think when you look at this, it's hilarious. Week 1, Justin Fields and Aaron Rodgers are going at it. Teams that they played for now played for the other team. I think that's going to be a great matchup. Do I think it's going to be a great game? Who frickin' knows? Because these teams could be shitty. But I think it's a great matchup for what the conversation is going to be. I also think with Aaron Rodgers, we saw this before. This guy named Brett Favre.
Yeah.
He did the same thing where he waited till the last moment to come into the season because he didn't want to do all the OTAs and all that other shit. So I just think when we look at this, Aaron Rodgers conversation could all be swept under the rug if they have a great year. If they have a bad year, we're just going to nonstop talk about Aaron Rodgers in the Pittsburgh Steelers situation. And I think this is exactly why the Minnesota Vikings were like, we're just not going to do it. We're not going to be with this.
Well, you just don't want the drama to it.
Yes.
You don't want the drama to it. And I think like with Minnesota, they were going to go with J.J. McCarthy. They got to see what he's got. But I totally agree. And, will Tomlin put up with all the BS too?
He's put up with a lot of BS before.
He did. But, and he may have to just because his hands are tied because the organization wanted Rodgers. They wanted him from day one. As soon as the Jets released him, that was the Steelers' number one priority was that because they got rid of Fields because of it, I think. Yeah. So they wanted him so badly and, he kind of hauled around, but I just don't know what they're going to – I guess they're going to rely on their defense and go from there. I don't know. I just don't –
Yeah,
I don't
but
know if this is going to work.
That's Pittsburgh's offense. Or Pittsburgh's team is defense first, and then you have the supplement of an okay quarterback and blah, blah, blah. And you know what? Tomlin has dealt with worse. He had Antonio Brown. He had George Pickens, guys that got continuously talked about in the news about either their actions or performance or whatever. So when you come to Aaron Rodgers, this is just a new year, new day for the Pittsburgh Steelers. In other news, McLaurin out of the Washington Commanders is reportedly frustrated with the lack of progress in his contract. I don't think this is a good thing, and here's why. You just had a great successful season with a rookie quarterback now going to come on to a second year, and your top target receiver is the one that's having problems with it. I think he had a great season. I don't know if he had a breakaway great season, but what helps when you have conversations, you say, hey, you have a young quarterback, and I'm the guy that's going to get the ball. I want more money then. I want more. And I just think they have to shut this up, end it quick, because they need this team to be the way that it is with that division. Not one team has taken a step back in that division. I know people say the Cowboys did. I don't believe they have. Eagles are the Eagles, defending champs. And I think the Giants went out and got Russell, and they said, hey, we're going to go kind of in for this one. So this one, McLaurin's got to get cleaned up fast. What did you think about hearing about this?
Well, is he complaining because of Debo is there now? Because Debo's got a big contract. Maybe he wants paid.
Yeah,
You're right. He had a good season, a great season. No.
Yeah.
And it started out kind of slow for him. I had him on my fantasy, and he was kind of slow, but then he kicked it in probably about week 5, week 6. So I don't know. I think it's just a player that had a good season, and hey, I like the little bump up in pay.
Yeah, well, and I think he deserves it. I do, because when you have a young quarterback like that, you're on a rookie contract. So everyone else needs to get paid. Right. Because once he comes off that contract, not anybody going to get paid. So I think and I kind of forgot about the whole Debo situation, which that's going to be a crazy offense. That's going to be fun to watch. But yes, I think you need to get this nicked in the butt fast, because they got momentum with getting the Debo, with having the season they did with the rookie quarterback. I unfortunately just see the Commanders this year as the Texans of last year, where they had such a great season. Everyone's like, oh my, watch out. Here they come. They got Stephon Diggs. Here we go.
Right.
And they struggled. So we'll see about that one. In other news, Anthony Richardson dealing with the shoulder injury, skipping minicamp. What did you think about hearing about this?
Yeah, that's not good. That for a kid that's going to have to battle for the starting position, and now he's behind the 8 ball because he can't play. He can't play because now he's got a bum shoulder. Ooh, that's not good. That is not. It's not what you want, And now it's I don't know who's the quarterback now. That didn't they sign a veteran?
Daniel Jones.
Daniel Jones. So now that might be Daniel Jones's, for him to lose. I mean, because shoulders don't just go away overnight. That may take a while. I mean, he may not be ready till training camp, which, that's a couple months. Well, next month. 6 weeks. So,
well, and I think it was I've said this since the tap. I feel like it's Daniel Jones's team. I don't think it was ever Anthony Richardson's. No organization goes out and gets someone and says, we're going to have a competition if they have serious, and I mean serious, doubts in this situation. I think this definitely, like you said, puts him behind the 8 ball in this whole situation. But I do think because of being a young quarterback, he's going to have another chance. He is a great athlete. He can run the ball. He can throw the ball. If he can just get it all to mix together, I think it'll really work out for him. I think you also need the Jonathan Taylor situation to get better, running the ball, to open up the pass. But I wouldn't be surprised if Daniel Jones has a resurgence, because we've seen so many quarterbacks after their rookie place go to another place, Sam Darnold, Baker Mayfield, that have these great seasons, and we're like, oh my God, these quarterbacks weren't that bad. Maybe the Giants were really bad, and that's why. I just think Anthony Richardson will get another shot at it.
I agree, because can Daniel Jones stay healthy? Because he's coming off an injury as well, I think. Yeah. And, Steichen, he was an OC, and he was a decent OC for the Eagles. So, I mean, he can run the ball. Daniel Jones can run the ball, and he can also throw the ball down the field. So, I mean, and maybe that's why they picked up Daniel Jones, because they knew Anthony Richardson had a bum shoulder.
Yeah, I also think Anthony Richardson just does it better than Daniel Jones does. Mm-hmm. Like, Anthony Richardson's never ran down the field and tripped over his own feet when nobody was around him.
Well, that was the yard line that tripped.
Oh, my God. That was so embarrassing.
It was.
In final news of the NFL, Rashard Bateman signing a 3-year, $36 million contract with the Baltimore Ravens. I understand it, but at the same time, like, Rashard Bateman? Like, I mean, it's just, like, you have Zay Flowers, you have these other, and there was all these wide receivers that were out there in the market to go get. Isn't this comparable to what Stephon Diggs was getting? Like, you didn't, I don't know, I just, like, and maybe I haven't watched enough Baltimore Ravens games to be like, oh my gosh, yes, he deserved this. but I felt like he wasn't a guy that was like everyone demanded in fantasy. And that's how I rate on whether players deserve contracts is how they get in fantasy. But Rashard Bateman getting this big contract was like, really? Okay. Well, I mean, it's Lamar Jackson's team, I guess. But what did you think about this one?
Yeah, I mean, $13 million a year. He's probably what their fourth quarter or fourth wide receiver. I mean,
Third.
you've got third.
Yeah.
You've got Andrews. You've got Zay Flowers, which I don't think they can pay yet because I still think he's on the rookie deal.
Yeah.
Because I think he's on his third year. So, and maybe that's why what they're okay. We'll give him 3 years, 39. Because by the time Flowers gets up to where he gets his contract, they might get rid of Bateman. Bateman was the third in line. I mean, he's the third person they're usually throwing the ball to.
Yeah.
So but $13 million really isn't a whole hell of a lot. I don't think.
But he's getting $20 million guaranteed.
Oh.
And so that's the thing that I like. It was like he's getting majority of this money no matter what. And then here's your deal, like you just said right there. If they have to go pay Zay Flowers, and you got to trade him or get rid of him, who's taking up that contract? Like I mean, it's a big contract for someone that like would be a third on a lot of teams, but because they just don't have the depth at wide receiver, he's a second or a third. Like, you know what I mean? So, I mean, if he went to Minnesota, he would not be. I don't think he'd be on the field. Like with their kind of talent role, unless Jordan Addison decides to keep drinking in front of the airports. There we go. In college football.
All right.
Allegedly.
Yeah.
I think it was proven, but allegedly. College football. Ohio State agreeing with the 4-bid guaranteed for Big Ten while SEC coaches push back. I think this is hilarious. This is exactly, so when COVID happened, Big Ten was like, we're not playing. SEC said, no, we're finding a way to play. Everyone else joined on that bandwagon, right? Now, Ohio State, after coming off a national championship, it's like, you could give us one bid. We're going to win it every year. Guess what? I think this just shows right here. Put the field wherever it is, line the ball up wherever you want, and we'll play any team. I think this shows the SEC's vulnerabilities of being like a weak. They're just showing that like they're not as not prideful, but I guess they're just not showing as like dominant as they once were. Yeah. And I think this is the Big Ten saying, we don't care. You give us one bid, give us 7 bids, even though we may be the ones that deserve it more than the SEC. And boom, look at this. What did you think about hearing about this?
Yeah, I mean, the Big Ten, they're now going to puff their chest out a little bit.
Oh, hell yeah.
We won a national championship.
2 in a row.
Yes. And SEC, you guys can do whatever you want, but, it is what it is. They're going to get stronger and stronger, the Big Ten. You got Oregon in there. You got USC. You got UCLA. They're all going to come back around.
Yeah.
The Pac-12 teams are the old Pac-12. That Big Ten is going to be, you still got your Iowa, that, Michigan. Michigan's going to come back.
Yeah.
I know Michigan State could come back. You still got a pretty strong. Huh?
Northwestern's going to come back too. No? Oh, shit.
Yeah. Have you been drinking?
Yeah. To think Northwestern's going to win anything, yeah.
Yeah. But, I mean, they're only going to get stronger and stronger.
Yeah.
So,
and I think
the Ohio State coach, go ahead, do what you want.
And I think about the teams like Nebraska and Rutgers and these teams that are like have been at the bottom of the totem pole are starting to get these big recruits. And you're like, oh, okay. Where SEC was grabbing these back in the day. I saw an article today that Ohio State's the wide receiver, Smith.
Jeremiah.
And then the Alabama wide receiver, the freshman, right? You know what I'm talking about? The 2 freshmen.
Williams, yes.
Yes. They both were going to go to Georgia. And they both went their opposite ways. Could you imagine that team with both those players? And that shows right there that the SEC ain't what it used to be. I know one of them went to Alabama, but to go to the rival, like that's crazy. So,
well, and Anthony, here's the deal too, and I think we're going to be finding out as years go by, as we go year after year. Some of these players that went to an Alabama and Georgia would sit behind great players, and because they knew they were going to get their chance.
Yep.
Now they don't do that anymore. They'll go wherever the money's right, so they can get the playing time, so they can get to the next level.
Yep.
Plain and simple. And that's why I think you're going to see parity in college football.
Yep. And I think when you see SEC coaches whining the way they are, it shows that they are nervous.
Well,
And
they used to get what they want, and
Yep.
now they don't get what they want now anymore. It's the playing field has been evened.
Yep. No, definitely agree. Final news in college football. Eagles to host a game between Michael Vick's Norfolk State and Deshaun Jackson's Delaware State. I think this is very cool.
Yeah.
Both guys played for the Eagles. Obviously, Michael Vick's more known for the Atlanta, but I think he has the roots in for the Philadelphia Eagles. Very cool. I think it's, not a game that may be like, gotta be must watch, but I think just giving the atmosphere, giving the the view of this, I think it's really cool for both these guys to get in. I do hope they show something before the game of what Deshaun Jackson and what Michael Vick but they brought to the Eagles, so that it gives something to show for the crowd as well.
Yeah, and I think this is good. Anytime you can get, I hope it's on a network TV, whether it be ESPN, TNT, whatever. And so because that gives exposure to these HBCU games. Yep. I know when you have the Southern Grambling game usually in November down in New Orleans, that's a big deal down there. They get their bands out there and they get the exposure, and that's what these smaller schools need, is the exposure. And I'm now that you're getting more of the ex-NFL players going back to their schools to be coaches, that could only help them.
Yeah,
it can only grow.
Yeah, and it, like you said, it brings spotlight on things that obviously are not there, and so then it also helps with bringing recruits there when you have all these big schools like Big Ten, SEC. We just got off that conversation, and now you get something like this where maybe I want to go to Delaware State, or maybe I want to go to Norfolk State because Michael Vick's a coach. You know what I mean? Things like that. We saw Dion and what happened in Colorado. We've seen what happened at Jackson State. So, all right, we got to get to the NBA. NBA finals start tonight. Which is Thursday night. When you guys watch this, you will see game one. But we got to talk about what are we expecting. Mr. Tim Cook, give me the stats.
I'll tell you what, this is going to be OKC. If you're a betting person right now, I'm just going to put it out on the line. If you're going to bet any of these games, go game by game. Do not bet the team or the series. Bet game by game. If I was a betting man tonight, I was going to put some money down. I like Indiana tonight getting the 9 points.
Yeah.
I really liked it. OKC hasn't played for almost a week. Indiana's probably hasn't played in 5 days. So, but this seems like the home team, all adrenaline flowing. If Indiana can hold off on that, and I think OKC's going to be rusty. If I was going to bet on it, I would bet on Indiana getting the 9 points tonight. Not to say on that, we got two teams that have not been to the finals. One team hasn't been to the finals in OKC in 13 years. And Indiana has been to the finals in 25 years.
Yeah.
So I mean, this is a big one. For Indiana, I won't say the keys to this series. Who's going to guard SGA? Yeah. I think it's going to be a combination of Nembhard and Naismith, but Nembhard has got to stay out of foul trouble. He cannot get in foul trouble. If it's up to Naismith, I think those two have got to combine to guard him. It's going to be a tough task. I think the Pacers have to get out and run the ball. Don't let OKC get their defense set, because they have the best defense probably in the league right now. Yeah. And they can get back and play defense. And the Pacers have all they've been doing is getting the ball out and going. And that's going to be a big deal. I think that if they can get out the ball and go, I think it's going to be, I think they could give them a fight. Another thing too is Jalen Williams is got to show up.
Yep.
Jalen Williams got to show up. Lou Dort. Some of the role players for OKC has got to show up. If they don't, Indiana can play with them. They have a hell of a bench.
Chet Holmgren has to play well too.
Exactly. Can OKC give Halliburton the Anthony Edwards treatment? Ooh. They really shut him down in the last series. They didn't let him drive in the lane. They didn't give him any shots. So come on. All them areas, and that's they'll do fine. But I think OKC is just a better team. They won 68 games this year. They're just a better team. I think their defense is all world. I mean, they can shut people down, and it's going to be tough for Halliburton. Pascal Siakam, he's going to have a great series, and probably a better series than he did against the Knicks. So yeah. But like I said, game one, I take Indiana getting the 9 points.
Yeah, I when you look at this series, I think it's gonna be a fun series. I think it's gonna be, if I was a betting man, I'm saying 6 to 7 games because
Right.
I think both these teams can come back from a 20-point deficit or run away with the game. I definitely agree with everything you're saying, but if they shut down Tyrese Halliburton, do the Pacers lose? I don't think so.
Mm.
And here's
Mm.
why I say that, because he has been a great player, but he's a momentum guy. So he don't have to score a lot of points. If he could slow down his momentum on the team, I think that's a big difference. If he scores 20, that's a great game for Pacers. If he scores 8, that could still be a great game for the Pacers.
Yeah.
So who do you got winning this series?
I think this is going to be a gentleman's sweep. I got OKC in 5. I think that their
Really?
defense right now, all they got to do is just go out there and play good defense, and I think they could shut Indiana down. I think this is a gentleman's sweep. They're just playing. They won 68 games this year. SGA's on fire. This team is just really good, really good.
All right. I'll do this. I'll bet you a Sody, just the way we do it.
Okay.
I will take Pacers. You could take OKC, whether it goes 7, 6, whatever. I'll
Right.
take Pacers to win this one. I just think there's times when we see champions and playoffs where there's moments that just be like, that's going to be on the DVD when they win the championship. We've seen it with the Cubs. We've seen it with
Right.
all these teams. The Tyrese Halliburton Tyrese
Right.
Halliburton doing against Milwaukee. I think tonight, if I'm taking them, I'm taking money line against, or the money line Pacers. I think they win this
Oh,
game.
wow.
They came out
Wow.
hard at New York that first game, right? They
Right.
came out and won that first game. I think they have to do that tonight. I want them to win. I'm taking Pacers to win this series. I don't know how many games, because you could tell me 4, you could tell me 5, and I wouldn't be surprised if it went 7. Like, I just think these series, the way the NBA is, it's just so hit or miss. Like you said, a roller coaster every night.
Mhm.
That, like, it could be. And how many games will be played before we come back on Tuesday?
There'll be 2. There'll be one tonight and one on Sunday before they play on Tuesday. I think they play on Tuesday again. Game 3 will be Tuesday in Indiana.
Okay, so when we drop our podcast on Wednesday, we'll be talking Tuesday night. So we'll have 2 games to talk about of those series.
Yeah.
And
And
then,
we'll know a lot after that.
and I do want to ask one other question. You said for the Pacers, you said I can't say his damn name. Outside of Tyrese Halliburton, the Seiko.
Siakam.
Yes, he is the other player. If you had to name another player that has to step up in this series, who would that be for the Pacers?
Oh, you know,
Outside of Tyrese and him.
yes, the Connell kid.
Yes.
He's got to play good, and then Mathurin.
Yep.
Off the bench. Their bench has got to play, because their bench on OKC with Lou. Oh, I guess Lou Dort starts, but you got Caruso that's coming in off the bench. He can match up with Halliburton or Siakam.
Yeah.
I mean, he didn't have a problem matching up with Joker and Cat.
Yeah.
Or not. Yes.
Yes.
Not
Yeah.
Cat.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anthony Edwards. I mean, he'll go get your big man. He don't care. I mean, he's a scrapper. So.
And then, who do you think for the OKC outside of SGA and outside of, I would say, the Williams? Who else has to step up? Like, do you think
Wallace?
Okay.
Wallace coming off the bench. He has got to step up too. Holmgren does too. I mean, if you can get all 3 of them, Williams, SGA, and Holgerson to play good, yeah, they're going to be. But Cason Wallace off the bench is going to be a big key as well. The guy they got from the Knicks, Holgren. Oh, can't they? But anyway, he came from the Knicks. He's another one that could bang bodies inside with Miles Turner.
Yeah.
So, and that's we haven't really talked about a whole lot neither is Miles Turner. I mean, he's been there for 10 years. This is his first finals. He's going to want to play good ball.
That's who I was actually going to pick for the Pacers was Miles Turner, because of, I think, the way that this is going to be a physical game, but also, like, OKC has got a lot of calls that went their way, whether it's flopping or whether it's whatever, right? People want to say whatever. I think he has to play tough against a very tall Chet Holmgren, because Chet is a guy that I've always questioned his physicality until this playoffs. Playoffs, I think he's played very physical. So now, can you match up with that? Can you rebound the ball so that you can get to that fast break? Can you do all that? I think it's going to be a great series. This will be fun to watch. Yeah. I just hope it's as good as what we're thinking, because unfortunately I can see one of these teams running away with it. And either side, I could just see, because it's one of these matchups where we haven't seen it before in the playoffs or in the NBA Finals. We haven't seen it yet, so. All right, we got to move on to NHL, as last night the game one, was it a thriller? Game one of the Florida Panthers Oilers. Oilers won in overtime 4-3, coming back from a 3-1 lead by Florida. Draisaitl gets the game-winning goal. It's just one of these things where you just feel it. You feel it. It's like, I think Florida lost that game, and it's hard to say that Oilers won or didn't win that game because they won in overtime. It's not like they won in regulation. But Oilers looked comfortable. It just was 3-1, and they weren't like getting, crazy with their plays. They weren't throwing the puck down the ice and causing problems. It was like, okay, we've been here. We'll do it again. And I think that's the difference from last year to this year, is the Oilers looked like they were scrambling at some points, where this series, the speed is crazy. And you could even tell when I was watching the game, Florida's defensemen, when Jesus would come down or Draisaitl would come with that speed, you could just see him being like, oh, okay. We got to get you. Like, I think this, after watching this game one, I do think this will go 7. Like, I think the momentum, like if Florida wins last night, I'm going to say nope, 6 at most.
I agree.
But now that Oilers won, they got that momentum. At the same time, I would not be surprised if the Oilers make it a 6 or 5 and win it. Like, winning that first game gives so much momentum, and coming back 3-1 gives so much more confidence. They will play on Friday and Monday before we're back. I believe they play on Wednesday after that, so we'll be able to talk about that one. But which kind of sucks because that means we have no sports on Saturday.
Yeah, I know.
So I guess I'll have to go golfing. Oh, shucks. But yeah. So I mean, what did you think about this game last night?
I think the key is Draisaitl.
Yeah,
he did not have 1 point last year in the finals, not one. And for him to, or maybe not one goal, but for him to get a goal, that is momentum there. Yeah, I think that's a big key. And for them to come back on their home ice and come back and win and get against a very elite goaltender and Broski, oh my God. Yeah. He kind of fell apart at the end. I mean, he let up 2 goals.
Okay. Like, don't get crazy.
He let up 2 goals and then he let up the overtime one. Oh. I mean, I think they're a championship organization. Yeah. Paul Maurice will have that team ready to go game 2 on Friday night. There's no doubt in my mind. And I can see this being a split going back to Florida. I really can. I don't think they will not let this go by. And we never did talk about today, Marchand. I don't know how much he played or how much he was a contributing factor to this game, but
I don't think he played. I think the game's almost a little too fast for him. Like, and I'm okay. Again, before I get hits on the comments and people like, no hockey. I don't know hockey. Okay, but like from what I watched, it just felt like it was a very fast game. And not to say he's not fast, but he is a little bit older. I do think it's these young players for Florida have to step up. And what the big conversation was, Hyman wasn't playing for the Oilers, so how are they going to get their physicality into it?
Right.
And we didn't see a step back. I mean, they did bring Kane, I think his name, Evan Kane or whatever.
Evander Kane, yes. Yep.
Yeah. He came back, and you could see that he was obviously a contributor in last night's physicality. But, like, to Shuck, that has to change, bud. Like, you have to be the star when we walk out of this series. I hope it goes 1-1 back in there. But at the same time, I'm kind of sitting here being like 2-0 going back to Florida. Holy shit. What kind of series we're about to see on a Monday night. So it does kind of suck that they're not playing, like they played on, a Tuesday night or Wednesday night. You're kind of hoping Friday, Sunday, get back into it. But like taking an extra day will be good for rest for everyone in this series.
It seems like both sports, the finals are because I think if they both go game 7, I think it's June 22nd or June 23rd is game 7s. I'm like, good God. I mean, come on. Yeah. Every other day should be good enough. You guys should be. They're just stretching it out. I wish I get it for TV and that. But that's why I say I think they're going to have to get more physical with them and don't let them for all 3 periods, not just for 2 periods. Because apparently they were because they had a 3-1 lead. that they weren't physical enough. But I think that big key is Draisaitl scoring that goal in overtime. I think that's a hell of a momentum for Edmonton. And I'm rooting for Edmonton because I Florida won it last year. They've been there 3 years in a row. Let somebody else win it. I mean, come on.
Yeah, and I think the final thing I'll say too about this series is that first game felt like, Serge didn't give up goals. It was just there was more attempts that were in front of the net where he would have snagged him in the past series. Where that first goal, I mean, it was just sitting there and a guy just comes in and puts it in. Like that wasn't what happened in those. And I think it's because Edmonton knows what they got to do to get around him. So we will definitely see. But we got NBA playing tonight. Hopefully everything we just talked about is a result of that. And we'll talk about that when we come back on Wednesday's podcast for Tuesday night when we record. We want to thank all of our fans for watching. Have a great weekend. Enjoy your sports on Friday. Go find something to do on Saturday. Get back into it Sunday night. But we will be back on Wednesday, recording on Tuesday. Have a great weekend, and we will talk to you later.